Why the UFC matters to the martial arts world. It's one of those things where a lot of traditional martial artists will be like, oh, well, you can't use all of the UFC is not real because it's a sport. Which, I mean, to their defense, they're not wrong. I mean, it is very much a sport. But one of the things that they're missing out on is it's the only sport where you can actually test your own martial arts skills. I mean, where else could you actually perform an armbar technique on someone and have them resist to their fullest outside of the UFC? I mean, there's literally nothing that comes close to it. Traditional martial artists and martial artists overall need the UFC to survive. I mean, one of the things that martial artists tend to overlook is that they don't need to fight in a sport-like setting. And this is like one of the reasons why I said that when it comes to a martial arts instructor or a self-defense instructor, more accurately, the instructor has to go through at least one of those three categories of becoming an instructor. If you want to know what those categories are, I mean, just go back to my first video, watch that. The traditional martial arts need the UFC because it's the only place where they could actually experiment their technique. The UFC is literally the only place in the entire world where you could go into an arena or go into a platform where you could perform your striking techniques, you can perform your ground techniques, and literally test if they work or not. Sure, you could do the same thing within your martial arts school, yeah, but in today's day and age, especially in the United States, there are very few traditional martial art gyms that actually perform in that manner, that actually are willing to have that, oh, if this doesn't work, then I'm not going to teach it mentality. I mean, there are so many different types of martial artists that are out there that are just like, yes, no, this is how it works. And in theory, they work perfectly, but that theory consistently lacks the idea of retaliation. And if you can't retaliate, well, if you're expecting your fight to go the way it's supposed to, or you're doing this one armbar technique, or you're doing this one fancy move and it's supposed to be working out perfectly and all of this stuff and this and that, then you're not being honest to yourself. You're not giving yourself that real platform. The UFC, it's one of those things that martial artists absolutely need. Because, you know, have you seen an effective standing armbar? UFC history? I mean, have you seen it ever? Traditional martial artists use these types of moves, like a standing armbar, which I find really strange because you could just get up, or not even get up, you could just stand straight up and then walk away from it, and then you're no longer in that armbar. And that's just the smallest amount of retaliation when it comes to that technique, which is also, again, why I have a lot of problems with martial artists that are saying, yes, this self-defense move consistently works, because they don't take in consideration the retaliation that is going to happen when you are faced with an opponent that is literally going to try and hurt you. And that's my biggest problem. And the UFC gives you that avenue, it gives you that thing. So I don't understand why a lot of self-defense instructors are just like, oh yeah, but this will not work in the street. Which, what? Like, why on earth? Like, this is one of those things that I don't understand. Why would you give up Muay Thai? I'm not a professional Muay Thai fighter, but as a Muay Thai fighter who has just now entered into this fighting realm, one of the things that I have realized is they don't focus on forms. The only form that they focus on is being able to perfect your striking techniques. And that's the only form you should ever really be working on when it comes to actual self-defense. Because if you throw a punch wrong, then you put yourself at the risk for breaking your wrist. Then you put yourself at risk for breaking your wrist. But more importantly, why would you give up Muay Thai to study Krav? Like, with all due respect to Krav Maga, but like one of the things that I don't understand is why martial arts or self-defense instructors really consistently do this. They say, strike the groin, strike the eyes. You know, pick up a weapon, throw it at him, or all of these things, which that's good. Those things are great, but at the same time, that doesn't give you the advantage in the field. I mean, if you really are being honest with yourself, how can something that your opponent can do to you really give you the advantage? Oh, because you know you can do those things? Your opponent knows they can do the same thing. I mean, you both have eyes. You can poke each other in the eye. I mean, That's not a technique. That's just amplifying something that is already neutral, and then you're wasting. Literally, this is my biggest problem. You're wasting money to learn something that is common sense. It's a scam, which is one of the things that I even made this YouTube video, so that people can come to it, or this YouTube channel, so that people can come to it, learn something, or like just at least have some basic understanding of what self-defense should be, not what it currently is. Because for someone to actually suggest that systema, a martial arts place that has kicks based off of the numeric system, where you literally throw a kick in like you're drawing numbers. What? Why? Did they not know how bodies work? And those punches, what are those punches? What are they? Why do they keep on doing that? What? I don't understand that. I mean, sure, maybe you have like this one random dude who's really good at systema and can knock out anyone. But why on earth would you give up the knowledge of learning how to perfect your real strikes that you're going to be using, strikes that have been proven to work in a format where it's nothing but technique, which is UFC, to learn something that is already common sense? And like it baffles my mind. I don't know how much people pay for a gym nowadays, but let's say it's $200 a month. All right, here in Seattle, that's about right for a good facility to have all of the equipment that you could possibly need. All right, so $200 a month. So you're spending $200 a month to learn how to poke someone in the eye. Fast. Spending $200 a month to learn how to poke someone in the eye, where you could be learning how to throw a proper kick, how to throw a proper punch, how to handle a proper attacker when they're coming towards you, how to put someone in the guard. I will forever be completely baffled by that. I mean, I guess no one has just really pointed it out. I mean, no, that's not true. There are dozens of people that have pointed it out. Martial arts tutorial, or Tutor, oh god, you know, his channel is going to be in the link in the description down below. I'm just horrible with names. He was also one of the reasons why I actually even started this channel, was because, I mean, he has a good point. A lot of martial arts are just not feasible in reality. I mean, and although I love his content, I mean, he has a lot of content. I mean, I think he uploads daily. I mean, that's just, oh god, that's impressive. I wish I could do that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, his ideas, it has to work, and he's doing his own thing with functional taekwondo, and that's amazing. I completely support that. But the thing is, like, it's kind of hard to do that, because you have to take what is already there and then amplify it even more so. I mean, not to have disrespect to taekwondoists or taekwondoists, I don't know how it's said, but not to have disrespect to those guys. They're always going to be outboxed. They're always going to be outboxed. They're always going to be someone who is destroyed by a jiu-jitsu fighter who understands just a little bit of distance managing when it comes to strikers. I mean, that has been something that has been proven time and time again in the UFC, which is why it's a direct correlation to things that you absolutely need when it comes to self-defense. I mean, right now I'm doing this whole video segment about self-defense, so that's the only thing that really matters to me. All right, so if you're going to be learning how to throw a bunch of different kicks, that's great, and you're going to learn how to do kickboxing, that's also great, but at the same time, you have to understand that there's also a ground aspect to it, so you have to learn both. There's not one that is better than the other, you just have to simply learn both, because otherwise you're just cheating yourself. I mean, it's essentially preparing yourself for that perfect boxing match when you don't have gloves, you are drunken in the street, and you are gonna be going to the ground. And then what are you gonna do? Like, what's your next best option? What is the thing that you can actually do in that case? I mean, you're pretty much just stuck to striking. And in my previous video, we've discussed that if you are striking on the ground, you don't have that same potential to generate as much force, because there's not that space to build up that momentum. That being said, what is the best thing that you can learn or how can you make your martial arts better for self-defense? And that's really just going to be live sparring. That's really just going to be putting in that live aspect to it, and really honing in on the ability to go into a fight arena where the UFC is something that all martial artists, literally all martial artists, from the Taekwondo people to Kung Fu to Karate to Tai Chi guys to Bagua and Aikido, these guys should not have. It's the biggest problem when it comes to martial arts, is that they only set themselves up for their own fighters. Like Metamoris, for example. Metamoris is a great system, and I completely respect that, and I love it. But Metamoris shouldn't be the pinnacle of jiu-jitsu. The pinnacle of jiu-jitsu should be the same thing as the pinnacle of karate, the pinnacle of boxing, which is the UFC. And the UFC is the only reason, like, the UFC is the pinnacle, not because I'm a UFC gym fanboy and I love that whole fighting stuff. Well, I do, but that's not the reason why. It's the best source, or it should be the goal for every martial artist. The reason you should have that as a goal is because that's real. That is the realest thing that you're gonna get to. I mean, sure, you can make the argument of like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna get jumped in the street and I'll be able to use all of those techniques and that stuff and be able to survive. Yeah, you could do that, but at the same time, there is no other place on the planet where you could actually perform your techniques to its fullest. I mean, where else could you check a kick and have someone's leg snap in half? That doesn't exist on the street. I mean, maybe it does, but I mean, as far as recording history has been going for video, and it just hasn't been showing up. Or maybe it hasn't, I just haven't seen it. What was that? But yeah, I mean, the most important thing for self-defense for self-defense people, if you're training to poke someone in the eye, quit the school, find another one, go to your local MMA gym or something, literally anything. Because if you like, again, I'm going to go back to this point and I'm going to really hone in on it because it's something that genuinely bothers me. If you're going to be spending $200 to gain the confidence that you're supposed to need when you are in a confrontation in the street, and you try to poke the guy in the eye and he says no, and he just parries your poke and punches you in the face, what are you going to do? I mean, if you're going to be spending $200 a month on learning how to poke someone in the eye, you're wasting your money. And more importantly, you're indirectly promoting something that you're not aware of, that is not beneficial to you. I mean, this is why I created the YouTube channel. This is free information. Like, if you find this somewhat makes sense to you, leave a like. Like, this is one of those things that I really need to hit home with you guys and anyone watching these videos. If you're spending $200 a month to learn how to poke someone in the eye or to pick up a chair, you're wasting your money. Because that barbaric mentality of the UFC is the only place where you could actually push out your elegance when it comes to fighting. And that's one of the things that I want to do as a fighter. I mean, it's the biggest drawback as a fighter is that I just don't have enough time to train, because my training regimen is impossibly difficult, but I love it. I love it so much. I just can't do it because I'm working like 60 hours a week. It's not true. It's more like 80. Speaking of, I gotta go to work. So if you're spending $200 a month for a class, it's about an hour long every day. Kick someone in the groin, pick up dirt and throw it in their eyes, stomp on someone's foot. That's what you're spending your money on. And you're just doing that, and maybe you're throwing some punches in there. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, I don't know. But if that's the core of your self-defense training, you're not learning self-defense. You're being scammed. And stop. Go to an MMA gym, because in an MMA gym, you are going to have to use your techniques. You are going to have to learn the advantage that you won't get when you poke someone in the eye. I can poke you in the eye, you can poke me in the eye, but we can't both parry a punch. We also don't all know how to throw a hook kick. That's a thing. We also don't all know how to take someone to the ground and put them in an arm bar. And that's what gives you the advantage, that not poking someone in the eye. The advantage is knowledge. And if you are neglecting the knowledge of the UFC fighters, then you are neglecting the reality of what martial arts truly is, which is supposed to be self-improvement. If you're not improving your own martial art, then how on earth does it make sense that we are saying traditional martial arts or certain martial arts are truly the pinnacle of what it is, of what is supposed to be the martial arts world, which is, I don't know, to me I find it outrageous. Again, if you like this video, leave a like. You know, if you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button, that's fine. But let me know what you didn't like about this video in the comment section down below. And let's have a discussion about this. I mean, because I genuinely care about what this is, about what's going on in the martial arts world. And if we do not pay attention to what it is, if we don't put intellectual thought into our actions when it comes to self-defense, then there's not going to be martial arts. Then the traditional martial artist, which is already happening, is going to fade, and it's going to become that cult that we all hate, because we look at it and we're just like, oh, that's bullshit, it'll never work. I mean, Aikido should work theoretically, and there should be a way to make it work, but how do we implement the rules of reality to Aikido? How do we implement the rules of Muay Thai to Aikido? I personally don't like Aikido because those things have not been a solid foundation within it. However, if we can change that, then we should. But until next time, this has been Solomon _ and I gotta go to work.
Of the fall, fuck a little bit, I'm gonna take it all. I'm a you gon' call, bossing with the